しかし、そうなると出番が来るまで暇ですね。
Shalom, my fellow individuals. After Rumble Roses, I was wondering what to cover. How do you follow that up? That's when I saw this game called Touken Ranbu Warriors was out. Well, I like the Warrior Muso series. There's also a controversy surrounding this game. That's going to be fun to deal with. Plus, my friends will think it's funny if I reviewed this. Now, you might be wondering, what in Allah's name is Touken Ranbu? To be honest, I do not know the lore, but we're in luck. I do know a woman from the Philippines that does know the lore. I asked her if she would be willing to help bring me up to speed, and she agreed. So as payment for her assistance, I gave her items near and dear to Filipinos, items that form the core pillars of their society. 5 kilograms of carne norte, 7 liters of milk tea, and 1 basketball. Touken Ranbu started out as a gacha and is about time-traveling sentient swords. These swords protect Japanese history from getting altered by a force known as the HRA, History Retrograde Army. The series has been adapted into cartoons, as well as multiple stage productions. Plus, the series has a large following of women and what we in the autism business call fujoshis. Starting off with the graphics, I think they're fine for what they're doing here. However, some of the characters did not make a clean transition into 3D. Yagin, Surumaru, Namazu, and Masamune looked uncanny to me. Maybe it's due to the modeling, textures, shading, and/or lighting, but these characters looked off to me. You know what? I think it's the eyes. They're big and the saturation draws your attention to them more. What makes them stand out even more is that there are normal humans in here, and their eyes aren't too crazy. It might have been a good idea for the developers to tone down the more out there designs for this game. Tales of the Abyss on the PS2 also had a very stylized art style, and I did not find anyone looking off in that. But hey, everyone that's playable has a unique battle damage model. For some, that's going to be enough for any graphical shortcomings. As for the music, I enjoyed a good chunk of it. In particular, I found the themes for the characters to be kind of moist. Let's move on to the game of playings. There was an option to make the game easier, but I did not use it. There's a basic chain of attacks you can perform. Besides that, there are also special attacks you can use. When you press a specific button, you will perform a special move related to the length of your basic attack chain. However, you can set specific moves that you want to use to a quick select. Plus, you can dash and use it to cancel out of a special attack. You have 3 special gauges to work with here. One is related to performing your character's ultimate move. The second is for a team attack. And the last one is for your team ultimate. Speaking of teams, I found the partner system to be very disappointing. You can't do switch attacks like in the Orochi series. Your partner fights with you, but they do so little they might as well not even exist. In addition, you cannot switch to them during the level. Even in stages where there are more than 2 playable characters, the only ones that will show up are the character you select and the teammate. Since the game was designed like this, I think it would have been cool if they gave you a special ability based on which character you were teaming up with. For example, in the lore, Yagin works with medicine. Instead of a team attack, maybe he could heal you or give you a buff. Overall, I think the core combat mechanics here are okay. I had 2 train of thoughts with how the special attacks were handled. The first one is that since you can assign them to a quick select, I wish that they added an ability system. If they did that and added the types or classes from the Orochi games, imagine the synergies and tech you would be able to pull off. As an example, Hyuga Masamune is one of the smaller characters. He could be a class that gets more iframes while dodging, or get to move faster. You could then give him abilities that boost his speed or damage for a bit. The second one is that I like this idea of being able to perform a move in relation to a specific combo, but also being able to perform that move whenever you want. I want someone to expand upon that. Throw in some risk versus reward. Have a special move that you can perform based on a specific combo, but let the player spend some health to execute the move whenever they want. The AI in the warrior games has usually been very simplistic, but effective. A ton are rendered and processed at a time, but the AI does not really coordinate or use advanced tactics against you. The enemies won't try to run away from you when you're killing them. If you go into these games expecting a bunch of different enemy types that will make a huge difference in an encounter, like you have to kill this one guy, he revives everyone. Or you have to watch out when this one guy dies, he explodes, dealing a ton of damage and causes poison. You're going to be disappointed. You are more of a threat to them than they are to you. Enemies have their attack patterns, and some attacks will highlight the targeted areas. At the end of the day, I found the enemies here serviceable for this kind of game. Also, I love the designs for the HRA. They're pretty sick. I could definitely imagine a necromancer creating some of these guys. Let's talk about the levels and mission design. The stages are divided into sets of chapters. In a typical Warriors game, you're dropped into a large map. You might have to capture bases. Major and minor events might occur that will affect the battle. For example, in this one mission of Hyrule Warriors, you start off fighting Sia. Then the Thought Midna shows up and jacks your butterfly, so the rest of the mission becomes stopping Midna. Here, the maps are very small. In addition, the first mission that even has base capturing isn't until the second chapter. I thought that this was going to eventually become a regular Warriors game at some point. It does not. Furthermore, there are instant fail stealth sections because this game does not have enough going against it. They even make a nod to the enemy patrol patterns. Also, unless you are going for the achievements, there are no other modes besides the story mode and replaying levels. There are no bonus or challenge stages. Some levels are called investigations. These require you to trigger a certain thing on the map. For example, finding a hidden passageway to destroy specific items. I thought these were fine. If you fail them, the game will tell you what to do. While that is nice if someone gets filtered by something cryptic, I still think it should have given you an option. At the end of a stage, you'll get experience points, earn materials, and raise the bond between the characters you used. As usual, level ups increase stats. Certain bond levels will make your teammate do some more stuff during the levels, but I did not find that to have much of an impact. At the end of a chapter, you get a boss fight, and these are certainly boss fights. I don't have much to say about them. One thing I did not like was that the game would take time out of the fight to explain how to beat the boss, even late into the game. Plus, the game makes you refight the bosses at the end. Between levels, you hang out at the home base. Here is where you can apply upgrades and buy items that you can attach to the characters. When the bond level between characters is high enough, this is where you can view unlocked conversations. Other than buying items, you do not have to worry about managing equipment. Instead, you upgrade the characters directly. You can boost stats and unlock special attacks. Honestly, I like this streamlining. It can get tedious managing equipment for everyone in some of the other Warrior titles because of the sheer roster size. Furthermore, you don't necessarily need most of the items or upgrades to beat this game. Getting them are more of a matter of how fast you want to get through things. You will not be punished for not min-maxing here. The items you really want to get are those character-specific books of mastery. Those give big stat boosts. There's bad design with the mission menu handling. If you want to go to the shop to buy something, you have to go through a loading screen to get back to the home base's menu. Then, when you want to get back, you have to go through another loading screen. I do not know why they could not put the shop in both places. You can assign characters to do stuff in the home base. Once assigned, these characters will gain experience points and raise the bond levels with each other after completing missions. For me, this was a nice addition. Of course, you cannot set everyone at once, but since the main storyline restricts who you can play as, this helps cut down on going out of your way to raise someone's level. Here is where you can also play minigames. I thought they were a nice, quick change of pace. You want to play them because they will reward you with more materials to use on upgrades. The last thing to mention here is that if you are into that sort of thing, you can poke the characters and blow air at them. You can take in-game pictures of them too, which can also be done while in a level. Since the story involves time travel, you might think it would be hard to follow. It's actually pretty simple. The fox Konosuke is employed by the government and is basically holding spirits at gunpoint to do the government's bidding. Only after completing their task will the swords be allowed to reunite with their Saniwa, which is basically their in-universe caretaker. The History Retrograde army is causing problems and the swords have to stop them. Everyone gets put into a team and that team deals with the timeline being messed with. That's pretty much the plot. The swords meet their former owners, which leads to some nice drama. For example, Date Masamune got hit with some corruption magic. He starts going completely mental and Mitsutada confronts him. They also touched on the metal aspects of being a part of the time police. You actually have to make a woman commit Sudoku to preserve history. If you were hoping for voice options besides Japanese, you are out of luck. Although I do not know a lot of Japanese, I think the voice acting sounds fine. A weird thing might be due to the sound mixing or how the actors were instructed to say their lines, because at times it seems as if someone is about to drop an ASMR album.
事件の周辺に生死とは異なる動きが見られますね。
秀次は豊臣秀吉の甥だったか。見るに
この結果を見るに死の危機は去っていない。家康公の御身が危険だ。
まずいですね。家康公の近くに
必ずや秀吉殿のお役に立ちましょう。大した自信じゃ。
I had only one complaint with the story. They erase a timeline from existence and treat it like a big deal. It is portrayed as this really sad thing. However, none of the swords befriend or grow attached to someone in the erased timeline, so it does not amount to much. Talking about the characters will be interesting. Character depth in Gacha has a wide range. Sengo is pretty much a joke character, and Surumaru is that archetype of an upbeat, sometimes cheeky girl, but a boyish variant. I'll do what I can. Let's get the other smaller and one notes out of the way first. Ukurikara is an out-the-edge, angsty loner. Ichigo is a big brother type. Tombakiri is a big lad. Yagen is a calm medic. Mitsutada is a cool guy that enjoys cooking. From a storytelling standpoint, I think it would have been better to combine some of the characters together to get a more well-rounded one. For example, to me, Tombakiri, Ichigo, and Mitsutada had enough similar traits that they could have been slapped into one. However, since all of the characters are based on real-life Japanese weapons, you will run into problems doing that. At first, I thought Tomoe Gata was going to play a larger role in the story. They used the lore surrounding the real Tomoe Gata Naginata to have him relate to a character that plays a crucial role in the story. However, Tomoe Gata does not really amount to much. In that regard, he is kind of similar to Raditz from Dragon Ball Z. Raditz was revealed to be the brother of Dragon Ball's main character, Goku, but Raditz just shows up at the start of Z and pretty much never gets mentioned after his death. Time for the more interesting ones. Let's start with Mikazuki. The woman I know told me that throughout the series, there are implications that the time government is overstepping its boundaries and just protecting the events that make sure it exists. Mikazuki knows what's really going on. Furthermore, he's an old man that may or may not be pretending to have dementia. Carnegie Sada commits what I'm pretty sure counts as a war crime, a false flag. He writes a letter, posing as a clan, to form an alliance with another clan by apologizing for past acts of rudeness. So his thing about elegance and beauty might be a front. One of the more entertaining characters is Heshikiri. He belonged to Oda Nobunaga. If you know anything about Nobunaga, you'll know that Nobunaga was quite the lad. Heshikiri actually despises his former master, since he used the real Heshikiri blade to kill a servant. So Heshikiri is a bit of a lad, but in a different way. He's hot-headed, has OCD, and kisses up to the Saniwa. I found Namazu confusing. At first, I thought he was just energetic and cheerful. Who doesn't like a character like that? Then I saw the game have him ask Surumaru to tell him a story. Yagen also scolds Namazu for leaving his clothes around. Are they going after the Shota crowd with him? Isn't he too old looking to be a Shota? Wait, I was told the swords do not have mental ages. This is just the form they choose to take. Look, I'm putting more thought into this than the creators did. I'm going to accept that he works like SpongeBob, another character whose mental age is all over the place. Let's move on before I go insane. Yamambagiri Kunihiro is kind of interesting to me. He's Ukurikara with more depth. Kunihiro is also a loner, but he has angst due to not being the original Yamambagiri sword. In addition, he has self-esteem issues on top of having autism. I am dead serious, this is in the official description. He hates being called attractive, so he dresses poorly. Alongside Kunihiro is Chogi. Chogi is the original Yamambagiri sword, and I was informed that he was very hated in the Touken Ranbu fanbase for being arrogant and a smart aleck. To be honest, I do not hate Chogi. Since so many people hate him, he's good at what we wrestling fans call getting heat. All of the people hating him, falling for the act, or getting what we call worked. And I'm not going to fall for it, because I'm a smark, which translates to troglodyte. Plus, he does go out of his way to help secure a place to dry everyone's clothes, so he cannot be all that bad. I enjoy Kunihiro and Chogi's interactions. They have a classic comedy dynamic of straight man and wise guy going on. Chogi is the wise guy to Kunihiro's autism. Depending on how deeply you want to look at their dynamic, you could see it as tragic. Chogi is the closest thing that Kunihiro has to a friend. But Chogi is very sarcastic and snarky, so Kunihiro does not know how to handle the banter, and is in a near constant state of wanting to open up and improve, but can't. There's going to be a point where he trades his blade for a gun and shoots up the home base. A new character they introduced here is Omokage, and they really push him for SummerSlam. He has a lot of what I'm going to call bait traits, things to make him appealing to certain groups. He's kind, longs for friends, smart, and a bit naive. Imagine a series where they added a female that's shy, affectionate, polite, and has a medium-sized chest. It's the same thing. Omokage was strategically engineered. It's time for spoilers. The story also set off a bit of my history autism, but I cannot talk about that without spoiling things. So if you mind spoilers, skip to here. 3, 2, 1... Early on, Kunihiro and Chogi meet a copy of Kunihiro on the battlefield. This is later revealed to be Omokage. The thing that makes Omokage more special than others is that he was formed from multiple swords that were called Omokage. Plus, he is missing a part of himself and can transform into other people. I am glad that one of the sword's attachment to their former master causes them to turncoat. It helped make the story more interesting for me. Masamune gets corrupted because of his love for his former master, and you do end up having to fight Masamune. I think it would have been more impactful if he changed sides without any magic shenanigans, but I'll take it. All the divergent timelines turn out to be dreams. This is due to the dreams of Toyotomi Hidetsugu, Omokage's former master. Hidetsugu wanted to be loved by Hideyoshi and protect the Toyotomi line. The swords meet the part of Omokage that was lost, Kurokage. Furthermore, Kurokage is trying to uphold Hidetsugu's wishes. As the swords continue to pursue Kurokage, he reveals that everyone will be trapped in the dream. Eventually, everyone finally catches up to Kurokage. He says that everyone will drift aimlessly for all eternity, but Sengo and Tombakiri say that does not matter to them. This causes Kurokage to have a change of heart. You then fight the final boss. After that, Omokage fuses with Kurokage, becoming complete again. Omokage uses his power to send everyone else back home, staying in the dream. If you bother to get the secret ending, you'll get a scene where Omokage returns. Since the story brings up Toyotomi Hideyoshi's failure, they are sidestepping an important part of Japanese and world history for the time period, the invasion of Korea. They could have made a balls-to-the-wall alternative history version of that. The History Retrograde Army could get Japan to ally with Western nations and possibly assist them with conquering Korea. Other Western countries like England or Spain, for example, could assist the Ming Dynasty as a way to get access to that sweet Chinese trade. Alternatively, what if Hideyoshi chose to make Japan enter the colonialism game? What if they tried stealing the carne nortes from the paellas to get those spices, or chose to colonize the west coast of the Americas? I know these ideas are kinda stupid, but they would have been fun. So if you're a writer or a game developer, there's an idea right there. What if Japan could enter world relevance under Toyotomi Hideyoshi? For someone that was unfamiliar with the Touken Ranbu lore, I found the story entertaining, but it did sidestep a premise that could have been rad to play around with. Alright, it's time I finally talked about the controversy. It's obvious that this entry in the Warriors series was dumbed down. I've seen people say that it's intended for someone that normally would not play this kind of game. I think this is a bad mindset. The Warriors series is already accessible. They're basically 3D beat-em-ups. I see them like the Kirby series, great for sitting back and relaxing. They're not like Monster Hunter or a fighting game where you have to learn a bunch of tech or complex inputs. Warrior games are pick up and play. Kill enemy, get dopamine. In addition, this argument holds even less water because the turn-based strategy series, Fire Emblem, has had more than one Warriors game made, and those were not dumbed down at all. Plus, one of the largest video game franchises in human history is Pokemon, and that's also very accessible. If you really want me to go the extra mile, since Pokemon is turn-based, as long as someone can read one of the languages Pokemon is playable in, and has enough motor control, someone that is physically or mentally impaired has a higher chance of being able to play it. They could even body others in the competitive scene. Another argument I've seen are people saying this is a good entry point for getting into the Warriors series. I have to disagree with this too. The design of Touken Ranbu Warriors is too different from a regular Warriors game. Touken Ranbu Warriors is a linear hack and slash with more enemies than you would typically see in one. This then makes me ask the question, if you take the core components that makes a Warriors game fun, what does it have going for it over an action-adventure or other hack and slashes? Take Blade of Darkness and the Zelda clone Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy for example. In the case of Blade of Darkness, the combat is more complex. You have fighting game style combos where you also have to manage your stamina. Plus, exploration is a core part of the experience. In the case of Sphinx, the combat is not very complex or deep. It pretty much just has a one-button combo. However, it makes up for that with other things. Puzzle solving, secrets to find through exploration, and platforming. Therefore, when I see someone say this is a good entry point, I see it like saying if you play a real-time tactical RPG like Pillars of Eternity, it will prepare you for a real-time strategy game like Age of Empires. In a game like Pillars of Eternity, you have to learn party composition. Unless you're doing a meme run, you do not want to be that guy that fills their entire team with melee attackers and no healers or support. You have to learn stats and class builds. Plus, you have to know when and where to use abilities. For an RTS, you have to learn build orders. There's tech trees you have to become familiar with. You have to be able to multitask on a large and small scale. So let's say that this is intended to get people that normally would not play a beat 'em up. Wouldn't it be better to make a different kind of game then? Why spend all that money and time on a risk? Although Touken Ranbu was originally a gacha, it was turn-based. Why not make a turn-based RPG or a turn-based tactics RPG? What about making something more casual? Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing are really popular. While I'm at it, do you know what's a surprisingly complex series that's popular with casuals? The Sims. You have to build a home, fill it with stuff, and take care of the character's needs. Unless you're a psychopath. Taking that into account, a light building management game could have been made. Put the player in charge of a rundown citadel and let them rebuild it however they want. Have them accomplish certain tasks to recruit various swords, and then put those swords into government-mandated labor. To improve the game they already have, they could have borrowed from Mega Man's design. Keep the team structure you currently have, but let you tackle the timelines in any order you want. Maybe solving one will make you have more or less problems in another one. I think even Touken Ranbu fans will be disappointed with this. In the original, you can mix and match which characters you want to use. Here, you are locked into using specific ones for large portions of the game. They're also missing some popular and well-known characters. In the Japanese cartoon Hanamaru, they featured two named Kiyomitsu and Yasusada, but they're not in here. Plus, they have Namazu, but they're missing his pal Honobami. This would be similar to a Star Wars game where you can play as Chewbacca, but not Han Solo, and there's no good reason for why one was left out. All of these problems would be fine, and I would not be getting so autistic if this was not a full-price release. I think Koei tried to pull a game developer equivalent of a drive-by. Get out something as fast as possible and charge as much money as you can for it. On the bright side, Koei has shown that they believe in true gender equality. They're already milking lonely men with Dead or Alive, now they're milking lonely women with this. When I originally saw what others were saying about this, I thought I was going to say that Dynasty Warriors 9 was the Sonic 06 of the franchise, and that this was the Paper Mario Sticker Star. After playing it, I can say it's at least better than Sticker Star. Slap that on the advertising. So do I recommend this game? Honestly, I find it difficult to say yes. I found it to be very disappointing. Even when you take into account that this was made for a more casual audience, there are better games for casuals out there. Die-hard Touken Ranbu fans will get the most enjoyment out of this. This is not similar to the Batman Arkham series, where even if you do not care about Batman, you can still have a good time. I guess that if you want to play a game with attractive men in it, go for Final Fantasy 15. It has its problems, but it's still way better than this. Or 14. Okay, one day I was looking up fan art of Final Fantasy and noticed a massive influx of art featuring a Catboy. Women were losing their minds for this, man. If you want to get into the Warriors series, Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends is a great starting point. Warriors Orochi 3 is another solid choice. And from what I've seen of it, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity might be one of the best games in the series. Touken Ranbu Warriors could have been better. The Touken Ranbu series can definitely work as a game. Maybe someday they'll have a better one.
I just got beat by two gay guys.